Be good. Be good. We're gonna have some company in just a minute here, all right? I know. I know. Hold on a second. We're gonna have some company. Every day we have company. Yeah, it's true. We'll just wait for people to come. We're early, but they'll join us in a minute, okay? It's fine. It's fine. I know. I know. You're a good Kaz, yeah. Some people hop in a minute. We're a little bit early. Again, I wanted to kick this thing off about a half hour before things are officially going. Not that the results will come in. They definitely won't get started early. They don't get started on time, let alone early. But this just gives people time to get in and start showing up before everything kicks off. And I do that thinking that, that means maybe at 8 o'clock we could just get going as we're scheduled and supposed to, as if I have any say or control over that. World's Strongest Man definitely doesn't care whether we're here and ready or not. And us being ready isn't going to make them move any quicker. So I don't know why I'm getting here a half hour early, but I am. So hopefully some folks will pop in soon. Hello, Burger. Is 85 like your birth year or something? Or the most number of burgers you've eaten in one sitting? That would be impressive. Kind of gross, but ultra impressive. Yep, to the birth year, I'm guessing. Hey there, you little kitty. So, awesome. That's pretty cool. So, if you have been around previously, some people be more and more people join us in a minute here. Just so we know, my dogs have been keeping us company. They won't be. We have a new person keeping us company today. I'll introduce momentarily. This is the world's strongest cat, Kaz. Uh, this little kitten was rescued last night, was abandoned in an old pump house here on the property. I thought maybe the mother had left like a nest of kittens there, but no sign of siblings. Waited for hours, did some tracking, trying to find mama, nothing. So I gotta try to find the kitty cat a home. But for right now, Kaz is home here, and the dogs do not like Kaz at all. So they're in the other room, and I'm kind of playing mama cat while we watch big dudes lift big things. Who do I have as my podium right now? Well, my original predictions. If you were around for those, I'll tell you. If you weren't, I'll tell you anyway. And then we'll look at what may or may not have changed. Kaz, don't bite me. I know you want a nipple on my hand, but there is no nipple on my hand. I'm sorry. Um, all right. So stay here, Kaz. All right. You're gonna be. By the way, Kaz is probably gonna be meowing and whining the entire stream, so we'll probably lose some streamers today who will be mad at me because they won't be compassionate to our little furry friends. But Jace loves strength and Jace loves animals. So anyway, um, so yeah, when this thing kicked off, I thought the podium was going to be Martins Lisi's on top, Tom Stoltman in second, not quite defending his title, but showing that he's a player. It wasn't just a one-time thing. And then I had Brian Shaw doing third, mainly because his training has looked pretty impressive to me. And I was impressed by his second place finish last year. And I actually thought the events this year may have favored him better than last year. Last year's events were great for him, but I thought I really was one of those people who were like, last year, this is do or die for Brian this year because he's never going to get better set of events than these. And then I thought this year the events were better for him. So I was like, wow, okay. So even though I thought there was better events for him this year than last year, I also thought the competition was slightly tougher this year. And in addition to tougher competition, it's another year of age, and Father Time is undefeated. So I said Brian is going to finish in the third place position. Based on what's happened so far, I'm still going to say that Tom and Martins are on my podium. Does Brian still make my podium? I'm going to go ahead and look at things again real quick because I didn't anticipate Brian having to make a stone off to get into the final. I anticipated Brian doing what Brian always does, which is win his group, right? Um, he's a great stone repper, right? He's one of the best stone guys on planet Earth, but it's taxing, and in a stone off, potentially very taxing, especially if you're doing it from the third place position, which is very, very possible today. Very, very likely even. So, who's to say? So does that change my picks? Well, I have to really scroll through here and refresh my mind and see who's in there, because I do fear that maybe Brian, um, with the extra work that he's going to have to do to get in there, maybe he won't have enough to get the job done. Um, so yeah, I think Brian's probably going to miss the podium. So let me see here. I still say I still say Tom. I still say Lisi's. Man, Alexi's looking really good, isn't he? Um, all right, I'm gonna do something a little bit crazy. I'm gonna say Martine still takes the title. I'm gonna say that Tom finishes second, and I'm gonna say that Alexi takes third. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna say Mitchell Hooper doesn't get the podium, but I'm actually believing. I'm believing right now. I'm not seeing much weakness in this kid. I'm going to say Mitchell Hooper gets fourth place at the 2022 World's Strongest Man, which, if you're him, should feel like you just won the 2022 World's Strongest. Right now, he should feel like he just won the 2022 World's Strongest Man. I do believe that he is the story of the event so far. Um, and I guess I will say, oh, it's hard to pick a fifth because I don't know who else is going to be in there, right? You can only almost bet with the people that you know are sure to go on. Until we have these stone offs, it's tough. Um, but you're forcing me. Oh man. Oh, it's Max or Luke. Does anybody want to influence my decision here? Who am I going to give the fifth place to? Is it going to be Max or Luke? Maxime. Maxime, stealing Martin's jingle. They will get started in 22 minutes. That's never going to happen. They're supposed to get started in 22 minutes. And even if they do, we won't hear anything about it for a while. So, anyway, there you go. You guys held a gun to my head. That's where I'm at now. It's going to be Martins, the younger Stoltman, Alexei Novikov, Mitchell Hooper, and Maxime Boudreau. But honestly, I think if you're Mitchell Hooper, with what you've done right now, even if you bombed in the finals, which he's not showing any kind of pressure there, a 10th place finish in the finals is still a big victory for that young kid. I I'm amazed. I thought going into this, like Laws and some others, this kid could impress some people. He could impress some people. But my definition of impress people was not this. He didn't impress people. He impressed this people. I am blown away by Mitchell Hooper. I don't want to say I don't want to say I'm in disbelief because it almost feels like that can be disrespectful. Like he had no chance at all, right? And I don't want to feel like that. And I didn't think that he had no chance at all. But uh, I am shocked. I am really shocked. Thank you for that. Yeah, the fake weights have helped Mitchell for sure. I mean, being best friends with Brad Castleberry and stopping by, Castleberry headquarters to pick up some implements and then sneak them into his truck on the way to World's Strongest Man, and then getting Colin Bryce, who's already corrupt anyway, right? So it's not really that much of a challenge to get him to look the other way, but maybe to get some of the other people to look the other way while he swapped implements in and out so that Hooper could go ahead and do the things that he's done. It was a very smart strategy, which, I mean, some people don't like when people cheat. Some people don't like when people game the system and stuff like that. But my philosophy is, hey, if you're smart enough to do it, you might as well. My old high school wrestling coach used to say, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So, you know, I'm not gonna rip on Mitchell for cheating and using fake weights. I say more power to him. Blame the other guys for not being smart enough to do the same thing. But really, David, we shouldn't be talking like that because you and I are both smart enough to know that people who tune in and hear us talking like that will, for some reason, believe us, and then there will be memes and stories all over the internet about Hooper in a crazy scandal, cheating at the world's strongest man using fake weights, and then this kid who I've swapped messages with on YouTube now, and have great respect and good rapport with, that relationship is dead because he sues me for defamation in court. So maybe we should stop with the sarcastic slander. I don't know. Anyway, we probably won't. We probably won't stop. We'll probably do it again, right? Let's see here. What on earth happened to my favorite Brian Shaw? Doesn't look in great shape compared to last year. He looks heavier with lighter weights. It doesn't help. Yeah, Brian lift. Here's the same thing. Or here's the thing with Brian Shaw. Um, he, here let's talk about the first thing that's up with Brian Shaw and whether he's in great shape or not. He's older, and me and Brian are like the same age. Uh, Here's a dirty dark secret that maybe Brian doesn't want to admit, but he probably is okay. Because here's the one of the things about Brian's strongest core fan base. Most of them refuse to see that he's getting older, but he admits that he's getting older and he's not as good as he once was. So he has sort of accepted reality, even though a lot of those around him haven't accepted reality. Um, but having said that, once you reach a certain age, and I'm speaking from experience because I have reached that age, unfortunately, hurts to admit it. But one age doesn't just, or 1 year doesn't just feel like 1 year anymore. I I I used to feel like, from 26 to 27, I didn't change that much. From 27 to 28, I didn't change that much. But in the last year, I swear, if I swear, if Jesus was standing here in front of me right now, I'd say, "You messed with that calendar, didn't you?" Because I know for a fact that I aged 5 years in the last 1 year. It just happens. At some point, we reach a spot where it's just like boom. So I think there's one of that. There's that. There's also let's not take too much credit away from his competition. This is a stacked field this year, probably as loaded as I can remember WSM being in quite some time. And not only is it a stacked field, we have the guys who are at the top, the stars in the sport. They're getting younger and younger, and so when you have the elder statesman up there, you can only hold that position so long. And a lot of times, the people who were a little bit younger, they start to catch up to you. But when the young studs are catching you, it gets harder and harder to be at the top because those young guys improve, right? Once you reach a certain level, you're basically trying to maintain. Testosterone falls off. We can't improve a lot of times. We're trying to fight to stay where we were. But these young guys, they're not trying to stay anywhere. They're not trying to maintain. They're still climbing. So at what point does the climb pass that maintenance? So that's part of what's happening. In addition to that, another thing is um, the competition's not over, so we shouldn't count him out. He's still there. He's still fighting. He can still make the final. Um, but I think those are the things that are really at play, and it doesn't matter at this point. Brian has done enough in his career that, in my opinion, he can finish from first to 30th at World's Strongest Man, and it doesn't change my opinion of him one iota. It doesn't tarnish his legacy. The man has done enough for the sport. He's done enough to give me entertainment over the years. He's a class act. He's got a lot of interests and successful things going on outside. He's continuing to help build the sport with the Shaw Classic. Brian can do whatever he wants, and I will remain a fan of Brian Shaw forever. So, Anyway, so for those who are just tuning in and waiting for us to get kicked off, I guess it's time for introduction. I apologize now. You're probably going to hear some meowing and whining all day. We have a new guest joining us for today's World's Strongest Man. This is the world's strongest cat, Big Kaz. I guess I can't call him Big Kaz. Well, this will be Little Kaz. How about that? This is Little Kaz. Um, and the dogs won't be in here because they're not a fan of Little Kaz, and I gotta protect Little Kaz. I'm its mommy right now. Out here on the property that we have an old busted well pump and pump house, and I found Kaz in there trying to get out, stuck in a bad position, scared out of his little mind last night, and I had to rescue him. And there were no brothers and sister kitties around. There was no mommy kitty around. I waited for 2 freaking hours out there, guys. No sign of another cat. And so I thought, well, you come on home, and I'll either find you a home, or I will convince Caesar and Tucker that you can have a home here. Jeez. Ouch. So anyway, here we are. If Trey gets into the stone off, no one is beating him. Well, in his group, probably not. But again, I said it yesterday, and I'm sticking with it. There are people who can beat Trey if he's in the third position. If he's in the second position, he's safe in his mother's arms. I think Trey, Brian, Lisi's, Tom, I think they can all beat one another in a stone off. I think they can all beat most competitors even from the third position. I don't think even they can beat one another from the third position. That second position is powerful. So in his group, if Trey gets in the third position, he very well might be walking into the World's Strongest Man final. If he gets the second position today, Trey is definitely going in. He's not losing a stone off to anyone on planet Earth from the second position unless he gets hurt, which we don't want to wish that on anyone, right? Um, so yeah, I guess at this point we should do a rundown of the groups, right? We'll go through that, Brantley, as we take a look. So um, we'll go through this. Kaz, calm down, Kaz. No, you cannot walk on my keyboard. This stream might get we the stream got stopped once yesterday. With this cat here, we might lose the stream like 15 times a day. We'll see what happens. This is going to be an interesting. This will be an interesting day 3 of World's Strongest Man, but not because of what's going on there, but because of the cat that's on the desk. Um, okay, so anyway, Group 1. Tom Stoltman and Kevin Ferris are in the 1 and 2 positions, and Gabe is challenging there. So right now we're looking at a stone off between Gabe and Kevin, assuming nothing changes in the wrecking ball hold. Tom has enough points that basically he shows up, picks the thing up, and goes home and rests in the hotel to get some much needed rest. So Tom moving on. Group 2, Kevin Ferris versus Gabe, assuming nothing changes. It's kind of hard to see with a massive 3 points between Ivers and Gabe. It's hard to see that being made up in one event at this stage in the game. Not impossible, but I feel like Kevin is super safe. The only way for him to lose it with a 5 point lead there is he has to come out and get. He'd have to come out and get 1 point. Ivers would have to get max points, and then they would, assuming Gabe didn't get enough points to pass them, which would be 2 or more. They would be in the stone off. So I feel like Tom is safe. Kevin is in the stone off. Gabe is probably in the stone off with him. And then I'm going to say Kevin wins the stone off if they finish in the positions they're in now. Again, you're not going to hear me. You may not hear me as we go through this pick anyone who's in the third place position or I think is going to wind up in third today, move on. You might hear me do one. You guys probably already know who that one will be because we've already talked about it a little bit. But you may not as we go through here and I'm looking at it more closely. You may hear me pick straight second place position because it's that powerful. It's that powerful. Um, so anyway, I think your group one is probably going to be Tom Stoltman and Kevin Ferris. And Kevin has a great grip too, so it's hard for me to see him losing points here. Um, okay, moving on. I know. Gosh dang, cat. How about you try to rest up on the shoulder like a parrot? Can you do that? Meow. I know. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. From Siberia. Wow. I posted I posted some Andre Smythe action last night. Seeing someone train in the cold. The cold. All right. Group two, much like Tom in group one, Mitchell Hooper goes, he picks up the thing, he puts it down, he goes back to the hotel and gets to rest today and tomorrow. I watched a video of him last night, swapped a couple messages with him, but basically, um, the issue there is this kid likes to go so much and he doesn't want to be idle. He says even though he gets to take the day off in his video, he's probably not going to. He's going to find something to do. He's going to do some kind of light workout or some mobility stuff. Just I guess really to stay warmed up, heated, in the right frame of mind. Um, but he could be vacationing, but he's not going to do it. So um, so awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, let's see here real quick as we go down. Favorite strongman who was just too injury prone. Mine was Kevin Nee. Ooh, man, a favorite strongman who was just too injury prone. Let me think on that one, okay? Remind me later. Um, there's a pretty big list of guys to choose from for that honor. It's a tough sport. It's an easy sport to get injured a lot in. Um, and then Bobby Thompson is in the second position. I anticipated Bobby moving on. So basically, in order for my prediction that Bobby Thompson makes his world's strongest man, that basically means I know, I know this is going to get me hated already. I know this is going to get me hated already. In order for my prediction of Bobby Thompson to move on, Brian Shaw has to not make the world's strongest man final. Now, do I think that's going to happen? This is tough. This is tough. Okay, so Gabe started out doing really, really well, right? And then did not do well in the car walk, didn't even finish it, did not have a good log lift. Uh, so this is again, people were I think they were joking, maybe they weren't joking, but people yesterday were saying, "Oh, there we go, the fix is in now." Gabe is throwing it for Brian because he's paid by Brian, he's sponsored by Brian. Um, I'm not gonna say that, and I don't think that's accurate, and I think that's kind of goofy, whether you're being honest or facetious. It's fun to talk about, I guess, if you want to stir people up or troll. But interestingly enough, whether it's true or not, with Brian struggling, the best thing that Brian has going for him is that Gabe seems to be losing momentum when Brian just gained a little. And of course, in the wrecking ball hold, Brian has a great grip, right? Brian has a fantastic grip. So, so do I think Brian can hold this third place position? Yeah, he's not going to overtake Bobby for second. He's not gonna gain more than 3.5 points on this event. Now watch him go out there and do it. Watch him beat Mark Felix for the wrecking ball hold, get 6 points overall, and Bobby Thompson uh, only gets one or two. Well, although I guess he's going to get two because Mitchell Hooper is going to get 1 point, right? He's going to grab it and go. So Bobby Thompson would get two. That'd be four, but 4 points is more than 3.5. So watch that happen. I'll eat my words. And Brian Shaw's going to go out there and get 6 points. Bobby Thompson will get two, and Brian Shaw vaults in the second place, thereby guaranteeing a trip to the World's Strongest Man. World's Strongest Man final. Sorry, yeah, the World's Strongest Man, right? Assuming that doesn't happen, a 6 and a 2, they're probably going to be into the stone off in this position here. Can Brian beat Bobby from the third place position? You bet. and I kind of forgot that Bobby was sitting there with his short little stubby arms like me. Um, mm, okay, I'm not gonna say one. Yep, Brian Shaw. This sucks for me into my picks because I wanted Bobby Thompson to be in the final. I had him picked, but then again, I wanted Brian Shaw to be in the final too because he was on my podium, right? But anyway, yeah, I'll say Brian Shaw beats Bobby Thompson from the third place position, which didn't happen last year, and it rarely, rarely, ever happens. But it's also super rare that any of the four best stone lifters in the world find themselves in a third place in a competition. They're usually in the one or two position, so that's part of one of the reasons why we never see it happen, right? This year, as it turns out, you got several of those guys, or half of the field, two of the four, sitting in third place position right now. So anyway, Brian Shaw does move on to the final for those Brian fans. However, again, said this before some of you got here. What does that mean for Brian? He wasn't anticipating going to the final through the stone off. He definitely wasn't anticipating having to make the final from the third place position. What did that do for his chances in the final? How important is that rest for him tomorrow? At age 42, is that enough time to recover? All of these things are worth talking about. And guess what? We're going to be here for a long, long time today, so we'll probably talk about them. But anyway, I guess Hooper and Shaw. Let me uh let me see anybody else over here saying before before we go on. Doo-doo. The Canadians are looking amazing, and everyone loves JF. So let's see here. What are starting wrecking ball? Hold. Let me how much time it says. It's supposed to start in 2 minutes, but that does not mean it starts in 2 minutes. Indicators on why he did so poorly in the car walk. Who are we talking about as having done so poorly? Now, even though I just said I'm picking Brian from the third place position over Bobby, I want to make sure everyone knows that I'm not saying that it is still likely or that I'm confident in that pick. If you ask me who's a better stone lifter between Brian and Bobby, that doesn't require a lot to answer, right? It's a pretty obvious pick. The question is, in a WSM where he hasn't looked amazing and at his age, can he do it from the third place position? I'm going to say he still can, but he's going to have to work. He's going to have to work hard. Okay, I wouldn't say that Brian did poorly in the car walk, and no, I have no insider information to know, why he did what he did. But I mean, I think less than 20 seconds is still a very, very good car walk. That's super respectable. It's better than respectable. Unfortunately, a lot of people did really good car walks. It was 16th out of 30, so very, very middle of the pack, right? Um, so I wouldn't say it was a bad performance. It just wasn't a stellar performance. It wasn't a great performance. And unfortunately for Brian, there were a lot of guys who did turn in great performances. I think Brian turned in a slightly worse performance than he normally does, but not. It's not like I've never seen him to do that. Um, he 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 normally is in around the 15-second range, 15, 16. So it's not like this is a major drop for Brian. But he did a slightly worse than he normally does, and a lot of guys did slightly better than they normally do. So it can't be so much about Brian. We focus on Brian, rightfully so, and we're always going to. Why? Because of what he's done, because of who he is, and so much. But I do feel at some point I want to make sure that we start giving some shine to some of the other guys. They deserve to have their accomplishments recognized and rewarded and noticed for what they're doing, not so much for what Brian isn't doing, if that makes sense. Um, so anyway, That's a pretty good comment. Um, now, I will also say this. Another thing about Brian is the speed events. You can say he suffers with them, but that's sort of true, sort of not true. It depends on how heavy the speed events are. Brian is kind of weird. It almost seems like he doesn't move at max speed. Most guys get into these speed events, right, and they go as fast as they can with um, with whatever weight is there. Brian seems to go as fast as he can with the heaviest weight that he can reasonably carry, and he goes at that speed or pace regardless of what he's carrying. So it's almost like you could sit there and say, okay, guys, let's load this thing up with 1,400 pounds, and maybe only a few guys can complete the course or whatever, which probably couldn't, but I'm just choosing a number and speaking randomly here for illustrative purposes. And Brian's best time that he could manage with that weight would be like 16 seconds. Well, you take 100 pounds off, Brian still manages 16 seconds. You take 100 pounds off, Brian still manages 16 seconds. You take another 100 pounds off, Brian still manages 16 seconds. It's just he's not going slow, but he's not sprinting no matter what the weight is or no matter how much it is. And I think it's part of it being calculated and things. So um, maybe sometimes he's a little too calculated. But again, we sit here and we pick him apart about stuff like this and say he does that. He's won the freaking world's strongest man 4 times. When we criticize him, I feel stupid doing it. How on earth can I sit here with this microphone on my head in this air conditioned room telling Brian Shaw what his strategy should be and what he should improve on? Who, who in the hell am I? Um, so um, Anyway, let's go on to some of the other groups, guys. We've been on the group 2 for a long time. All right, so back to the question: who do I think's moving on in group 3? So obviously, Alexi's like the other guys. He's moving on. He's sitting pretty. Picks the thing up. It's rest time. Then we've got Adam Bishop and Trey Mitchell. Now, guys, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like I said, Trey is one of these few guys who can win from the third place position, right? But that doesn't guarantee him. Okay, and I would say this. I said yesterday that if you're telling me that Rob Kearney cannot beat Trey when Rob is in second and Trey is in third, then I'm just going to disagree with you. You can think I'm wrong. You can laugh at me. That's fine. I think that Rob can beat Trey from if Rob is in 2 and Trey is in 3. But just because I say can, again, that doesn't mean likely. I told you guys yesterday, and I'll repeat it today. If Rob was in second and Trey was in third, I'm going to pick Trey. I'm going to bet on Trey. But I also have to point out here right now that Adam Bishop is not Rob Kearney. And Adam Bishop is much better in the stones than Rob Kearney. Adam Bishop is very underrated and super, super, super good in the stones. Is the difference Trey is a better stone lifter than Adam Bishop? Adam Bishop would probably tell you that himself. But is the difference so pronounced that Trey Mitchell can still beat Adam from the third place position? I believe he can again. But it's tough to pick. So I'm not hedging my bets. I'll make a pick in just a second, okay? Um, yeah, you haven't missed much. They just started like 4 minutes ago, Toxic Tag. So you haven't really missed anything. Us sitting here shooting the breeze. We got an hour before anything happens. We'll go back to the top again in a minute. But someone asked me to break down who I think's moving on from the second place. So that's what we're doing right now. But anyway, is the difference so pronounced that that's going to happen? Again, I'm not hedging my bets. I'm going to give you a solid answer. But before I give you the solid answer, I want to point out that right now, the interesting thing is that this is the closest heat, which I think we all thought going in that this would be the closest heat coming down to the end anyway, because these guys are so closely matched. And it's worked out exactly the way I assumed, except Alexi's kicking a little bit more butt than I thought he would, with a nice, comfortable lead in the 1 position. But there's only a half a point separating Adam and Trey. There's only a half a point separating these two guys. So Trey can easily do that. All he has to do is best Adam by 1 second, literally 1 second in the hole, and he gets more points. And that 1 point would be enough to get the job done. That's all he has to do. Now, and what's good about that for Trey too is he did better in the log lift than Adam, so he kind of gets to sit back here. I believe if they're still doing reverse order and not going on based on points on the podium, and I don't think they would be. I don't know why they would change it up. Uh-oh, corruption alert, corruption alert. But assuming they do this the same way they've been doing everything so far and the way they had told us they were going to handle things, Trey's going to get to sit back and see what Adam does. He's got a big luxury there of knowing this guy put up this mark. I just have to go out there and hold it 1 second longer than that. That's all I have to do. So Trey, even though he's in the third place position, ironically, he's kind of in the driver's seat. And so, with that being said, I think that Trey can beat Adam from the third place position. Adam cannot beat Trey from the third place position, barring injury or something like that. Trey is grip. This is a very interesting discussion. We could talk about this for hours. There's so many different layers to this story here. Trey, his grip is very up and down, meaning it's I don't know what to think about his grip. It's event dependent. There are certain events that you watch Trey do and you question, you're like, man, does that big guy have a grip? I'm not really sure he's got that great of a grip. And there are other events you look at and you're like, wow, he's got a world class grip. He seems to struggle like, carrying implements like farmers and things like that. But when you're standing stationary and you just get to hold something, he does pretty well. Luckily for him, that's what we're looking at right now. So I actually think that even though it's Adam Bishop 2 and Trey Mitchell 3 right now, I think in about an hour and a half or 2 hours from now, we're going to find that Trey Mitchell is in the second place position and Adam Bishop is now down there in the third place position. He's not going to get overtaken by Rob because Rob doesn't have a world class grip and he's already 2 points behind him. So that's probably not going to happen. Out of the realm of possibility, I wouldn't say that, but more than likely we're going to see a little flip here. It's going to go Mitchell and then Bishop. And if Trey is in the stone off in the second place position, I just said what happens there. So again, I told you I wasn't hedging. I just want to explain how I got there. Out of this group, Trey moves on from the stone off. Hopefully that made sense. Long explanation, but I try to be a little longer with my explanations than you get elsewhere. Not really because I'm trying to be long-winded or just pontificate for whatever, but I want to explain the thinking and the rationale behind why I arrive at the conclusions I arrive at. Hopefully you guys appreciate that, but maybe you're sitting there thinking, Jay, shut up. I don't know. They've already started, or supposedly they've already started. So, Group 4, Martins Lisis, Maxime Boudreau, Pavlo Cordiaca, Gav Bilton, Nedsman, Shane is out, right? Martins finds himself in a very similar position to the other guys, although he's not in exactly the same position. He sort of is, but he sort of isn't. Again, we talked about this at the end of yesterday. So if you have 5.5 or 6 point lead over the group, you basically pick up the wrecking ball, you hold it for a split second, you drop it, and you go on. Martins only has a 4.5 point lead, so he can't really do that. Except he can because there's one less person in his group because there was a withdrawal. So he pretty much can go out there and do that. He can pretty much go out there and drop it because he's not guaranteed 1 point. He's guaranteed 2 points, whereas the gentlemen in the other groups are only guaranteed 1. So that's a big thing that Martin has going for him here. He gets 2 points by walking out there. So pretty awesome. So you stick 2 points on the 21.5, and what do you arrive at? 23.5 means he's uncatchable, right? Basically, it's impossible to see the finale without knowing the results. No. I mean, you could just not look into it. You could try to avoid spoilers everywhere, but the problem is they don't air it. It's so long, you're probably going to hear something unless you. There are people. Let's be honest. We have a very niche sport. We love it. The people who are here, if you're here, it's because you love strongman and you love strength sports. There are a lot of people that don't know that strongman is a sport. They just know that there's this thing called the world's strongest man. If you're one of those people, which, to be honest, guys, we're not the target market. That is the target market. For most people, strongman is the world's strongest man, one event a year. For those people, you can definitely watch the final without knowing what happened because they don't know that there's a qualifying thing going on. They don't know any of this stuff, and they're not going to look into it. So for them, they can literally get by with that because they're oblivious to this world that we're in. For those of us who are fans, it is pretty hard to make it the world's strongest man without having to know what took place beforehand. Anyway, the Wrecking Ball hold starts now, not in 1 or 2 hours. It starts now or a little bit ago, assuming they started on time. Um, so anyway, uh, so Maxime is incapable of catching Martins, so Martins cruises into the final. He goes out there, picks it up, and like everyone else, gets to go rest or do whatever he wants. Maxime only has a half a point lead over Pavlo. That's it. That is it. So it's much like the group above. The question is, can Pavlo beat Maxime in the Wrecking Ball hold? He doesn't have to beat him by a lot, only half a point, right? If he beats him at all, that's enough to take that. Maxime, fantastic stone lifter. Fantastic stone lifter. Not in the same tier that's the other guys we've spoken about. I don't see him beating too many of these gentlemen from the third place position, so he needs to hold that second. I think that he holds that second place position. I think he holds that second place position very comfortably because he's got a good grip. And I do think that in group 4, we see Maxime moving on into the final. So I called this yesterday. I can't change my prediction today. I mean, I guess I could, but I'm not going to. Out of this group, we see Martins and Maxime into the final. Oh, little kettlebell. That would be awesome. So now I've got to tell people about little cows in a minute who weren't here. So we'll get them up to speed in a second. But I love that idea. I love that idea. Uh, but maybe not a kettlebell. Maybe an Atlas stone, right? Or oh, and maybe I get little Kaz a leash that's made out of chain, and I Hercules hold Kaz when little Kaz wants to pull me around the yard. That's the world's strongest cat. Anyway, hopefully we get little Kaz a nice home. Well, Simon, I spoke about that a minute ago. I do think that I do think that Brian. I predicted Brian will beat Bobby, and he'll have to do it from third place position because I think that's how they're going to finish. But it's not a foregone conclusion. It's not a foregone conclusion. I've got Brian moving on from winning the stone off from the third place position. Um, but but Bobby, he could fight enough to hold that position. The bigger question I think is really not can Brian win that from the third place position or does he? Because I said he probably can and probably does. But what does that take out of Brian? What's he going to be like in the final when he probably wasn't planning for a stone off, and especially wasn't planning to finish in third in his group when the guy hasn't been anything but first in over a decade? See, Lil Kaz just was like, "Yeah, exactly. Good point, Jace. I know, I know you're a good supporter of me. You think I'm way smart, but you're biased. Yes, yes, yes. Lil Kaz, Lil Kaz. Yeah. Hold on, I'll introduce you to everybody in a second here. Group 5. Luke Stoltman is in that safe position. In fact, Luke Stoltman is in the safest position of all. Look at the lead that Luke has here. 7 points, guys. 7 points. So everyone else has to basically go out there and hold the implement for a second and then leave. Luke doesn't even have to do that. He might go out there and cheer on younger brother Tom today and applaud for him, and Tom's in group 1, so he gets to be done early. Or he may just be like, Tom, you've already got it sewed up too, so I'm going to stay here. I'll wait for you in the hot tub. Come on back here after you hold that thing for a second. I'll be waiting for you. Or I'll go reserve us a table at the nearest steakhouse and make them hate us both today. He doesn't even have to go out there if he doesn't want to. So Luke's into the final, right? And then we've got this awesome thing here. Ethor, Jean Steven battling it out neck and neck. Um, oh man. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Again, neither one of these guys is beating the other from the third place position. Whoever finishes second moves on. They're not being caught by anyone, so it is a battle between these two. And Melstead made a final no one expected him to make last year. Melstead again makes a final no one expected him to make this year. So Ethor is going on again 2 years in a row. Now, a lot of that, there's the Evan Singleton story to talk about, and we'll probably explore that today too. Again, we're going to be here a while. But sooner or later, we're going to have to start giving Ethor a little more credit. Sooner or later, we're going to start recognizing this man. If he keeps coming there and making finals when we don't expect him to, you can say, well, it's because of this, or it's due to this, or what. Sooner or later, we're going to start putting some respect on Ethor's name. Let's see here. Ethor. If points are equal between 3 and 4 to see who competes in the stone off, that's what you're asking. If you are, I believe the answer to that is who performed best on the previous event. So, um, so whoever would do better on the wrecking ball hold, if two guys finish same points 3 and 4, whoever had the best wrecking ball hold would get to compete in the stone off. I believe that's the way it works. Um. So anyway, uh, I think so that's basically all the groups. I feel like there's a question or two that I said, hey, remind me, and I'll come back to you. So this would be the time to remind me if I told you, hey, I'll get back to you in a minute. But we're gonna go back to the top, and while we're doing that, I'm gonna introduce those of you who haven't heard yet. Um, this right here, this right here is Little Kaz. Little Kaz will be joining us in today's stream because I'm Little Kaz's mommy right now. We're gonna try to find Little Kaz a home. If we don't, I guess this will be Little Kaz's home, but that's gonna be very interesting. And if you're religious people or spiritual people, keep me in your thoughts and prayers because the dogs do not like Little Kaz at all. They're barricaded outside the room today. Hopefully the barricade works. You guys saw the size of Caesar. If he wants to get in, he can probably get in. So we're kind of praying for Lil Kaz's life right now that Caesar stays out of here. Um, but found this little fella abandoned last night. It was we have an old broke down pump house and an abandoned well on the property. I was out there walking around with the dogs last night and heard this crying. Thought, what is that? And I thought, I think that's a cat. With the dogs being there, obviously that wasn't going to work. So I brought the dogs back home, went back out there with the flashlight, and this little guy was terrified out of his mind and in a bad position and stuck and couldn't get out. And I'm not exactly the most mobile fella. I'm built for lifting heavy things. I'm not built for climbing and maneuvering into tight spaces. But we did it. We performed the rescue. It wasn't easy. And so we got little Kaz out of there, and then I realized there were no siblings around, so I wasn't stripping him away from his nest or whatever. He was just lonely. And then we waited around for a couple hours, trying to see if a mama would show up. No mama ever showed up. So Lil Kaz is here. We're gonna try to find a Lil Kaz a home. Um, yeah, I can do pull-ups. Um, anyway, so son of a jeez. Um, so sorry, I can't breathe. Anyway, um, we're gonna find Lil Kaz a home, but for right now, he's gonna keep us company today, and me and Lil Kaz are gonna do our best to stay hydrated. Um, so make sure that I have enough for Lil Kaz and me to stay hydrated because that's important. What do you guys think? Ouch. Jeez. Son of a gun. Dang. So the results are finally starting to come in. So we did just the right amount of speaking and wasting time there. And yes, Manuel did get 71 seconds on the hold. Uh, Got to think that's a pretty good start, right? Don't you have to think that's a great start? I feel like you have to think that's a great start. Um, I'm kind of. Are we going to talk about my squat, bench, and deadlift every every stream? If we do that, it'll be fun for the people who are turning in for the first time, but those who haven't are going to be like, dude, stop. It's gonna go from just putting numbers out there to actually feeling like I'm a pompous, arrogant schmuck who is bragging when I'm not actually that proud of my totals, and I'm kind of disappointed because of the injuries I have right now. I can't really go. I haven't been able to go heavy in quite some time, and it's kind of depressing me and bumming me out. I almost don't want to think about where my lifts are right now because I'm really depressed about it. Um, True story. It's bothering me. um, so it'll be interesting. I think I think with someone who got 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, no points. If we were sitting here and I was asking you guys to predict, Manuel's up first. What's he gonna do? I don't think there's a single person here that would have said he's gonna put up 71 seconds. Um, and so interesting. Oh, I cannot do close grip at all. Oh, the pain. Oh, I used to love close grip. I can't do it at all now. It hurts so bad. It's kind of weird being a tech guy and sitting at the keyboard all day. The carpal tunnel and stuff that I have. Um, I almost feel like the desk, the computer, has kicked my butt over the years physically more than the weight room has. It's sad to say. Um, so anyway, someone said, "Are you actually a pastor?" It's tough to say that. I'm a licensed minister. I have been a senior pastor. I have led churches. I kind of feel like once a pastor, always a pastor. I feel like it's a lifelong calling. I'm not currently serving in a church. I'm not currently standing behind a pulpit on Sunday mornings. I do get called out by other churches sometimes to ask me to preach. Um, but I'm a licensed minister, so there's the answer to your question. You decide if I'm a pastor since I'm not actively serving as one right now or not. You decide. Sorry, guys, giving little Kaz some attention. Yeah, I wish I had done some rotator cuff warm ups. There's a lot of things that I wished I'd changed about my training habits. If I could go back and talk to a younger Jace and make myself do things differently, uh, one, I would stretch. I would stretch. I never really stretched. Wished I had done that. Two, I would have warmed up, not just rotator cuff, but in general, I would have warmed up. I was one of these, lunk alarm. Shout out to everyone's favorite gym, and by everyone's favorite gym, I mean none of us can stand it. Uh, the world's biggest hypocrites. Anyway, Planet Fitness is not Planet Fitness. They're Planet Hypocrite, in my opinion. But yeah, I signaled that lunk alarm because I didn't warm up. I'm the kind of guy to go in there and for me a warm up was okay. Well, if I'm maxing at 450 today, I'll warm up with 405. That's not warming up. That's really stupid and really not good for you. And it has probably not served me very well. And by probably, I will just say it has not served me very well. Did Group 5 go first today? I don't think so. Why? Why? I don't think so. No. Holy crap. So Andy Black goes out there and gets a minute 26. Wow. So basically, what this is telling us, hey, Corey, I would love to stop talking about myself so much. People keep asking me questions, so I respond and answer them. Thanks, though. Anyway, um, having said that, with a minute 11 from Manuel and a minute 26 from Andy Black, I guess we're going to see some crazy times on the wrecking ball hole today. Yes, I can do that. That is a good point. I should move it over. I forget that I'm blocking it because what I'm seeing is not what you guys are seeing. Sorry about that. Dun 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 dun. We'll put it right there because that's a good spot. Wish I could just lock in the center. Boom, boom. Anyway. All right. So anyway, nobody asked me any more questions about me, my personal life, my gym routine, my PRs, or anything else because some of you don't want to know about me. So don't. The rest of you who do, make sure you don't ask because if you ask, I'll probably tell you because I'm an open book. All right. Anyway, the fruit, sickles, fruit, sickles. I think I like saying it's two separate words there. Oh, what questions did I ignore about my faith? I think I answered them. Are strongmen enhanced? Well, their strength is definitely enhanced. It's better than normal. I know what you're asking. Um, I suppose some are, some aren't. And Bud, you were not supposed to let the dogs in here. Hold on. I know. I know. I know. Sorry, guys. Lil Kaz is scared for his life right now. The dogs got in here. The little one can't get to him because on the bed. Caesar's trying to figure out a way here. So, and I'm getting a very good dose of kitten claws in my hand. Ivar's with 57 seconds. um. Anyway, I never got an answer, but I was curious. I'm not sure which questions about my faith I ignored. I don't want to sit here and talk about faith for the entire 7 hours because I know that's not what people are here for, and I want to be respectful of people's time. But I won't dodge any question. All right, sorry about that, guys. Didn't miss anything. Okay, so we're still where we were. Oh, I didn't see that question. Sorry. Uh, I don't try to scroll back too much because it seems like I miss stuff as I scroll back down. Plus, again, I'm kitten sitting today, so bear with me. How do I maintain faith with the Lord with all that's going on in the world? Most honest answer you're ever going to hear from anyone, and anyone who says differently, I think is either lying to you or lying to themselves. I don't know that I do. I try, and I think that's all any of us can do. There's my honest answer to you. I think you. I think people should be able to talk about anything and everything they want anywhere. I'm trying to be respectful to people's time. Like, I don't think there should be off-limit topics. I think that's, again, you're not supposed to talk about politics and religion. I have things where I literally go and talk about that specifically because you're not supposed to talk about them, right? Um, but I do believe in trying to stay on topic the best that we can. If you're going to a cooking show or a cooking channel, you probably should try to talk about culinary arts as much as you can. You can go and talk about chess occasionally while you're talking about culinary arts because chess is appropriate anytime, right? Or if you're interested in, beach fitness and bikini wear, you could go ahead and talk about those things on that channel. You can still bring up chess, of course, because why wouldn't you? Um, or maybe you have a love for baseball. You kind of want to talk about home runs, RBI, walks, strikeout, whip, walks to hit per inning pitched ratio. But you can still bring up chess. Um, but I think you should be able to talk about anything and everything you want. But I do try or want to attempt to somewhat talk about strongman since that's why we're here. But I'll ask whatever you guys answer. For the most part, I'll answer whatever. If I don't think it's going to cause fights between you guys, if it makes you guys not like me, that's fine. But if you start asking questions, I think if I answer this, it's going to cause you guys to start fighting amongst yourselves. And there was like two questions yesterday I purposely ignored for that reason. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let this turn into a war room. And the dogs are definitely jealous that little Kaz is getting attention, but I don't know. I don't know what to do about it. In the movie Born Strong, they mention that the Arnold Classic is like the Super Bowl, as if it's bigger than World's Strongest Man. Would you agree? Define bigger. More well known? No. Um, more competitive? Potentially. Done differently in ways that I like? Potentially. Uh, but I think when we're saying like the Super Bowl, we're talking about notoriety, right? And yeah, we talked about that yesterday. No, the World's Strongest Man is the thing. We can debate whether we want it to be the thing, whether it should be the thing, but those are different discussions than whether it is the thing. And World's Strongest Man is clearly the thing. And again, I anticipate that it'll stay that way, if for no other reason than the fact that it has been. It's hard to knock the, the king off its perch. And then again, it's got a great name, right? These strongmen are literally out trying to prove who's the strongest person in the world, right? And then they call the event the World's Strongest Man. It's pretty good. All right, boom. We have Gabe coming in with a minute 24, only 2 seconds behind Andy Black. Uh, All-time top three strongman. So yes, we haven't covered that before. Um, it goes in order: Kaz, Shaw, Zavikis. Um, yeah, that'd be the order. And then you know who I'm going to say after that? After those three, I'm going to say Ode Haugen. I was always a big Ode Haugen fan. Um, um, so anyway, we need the last two results here. Ferris, and then watch Tom go up there and put up his time of .03. I don't think they mean Super Bowl in terms of the biggest event ever. I think they're saying it's the Super Bowl, like the biggest event of their sport. So the Super Bowl, like if you think about football, you think Super Bowl, right? If you think about baseball, you think World Series. I think that's the comparison being made. I think. So anyway, someone asked, "Do I play a musical instrument?" Not that anyone cares, but I was a band nerd in school. I started out with the very, very masculine clarinet. That was my first instrument. Um, and then I got tired of being made fun of for that. Now you don't really get made fun of or bullied in school as like you used to, so it probably wouldn't be a big deal. But I quickly switched to the bass clarinet after 1 year because I got tired of being heckled for being a male clarinet player. So we're so cultural in this channel. Orchestra music, chess. We're not just a bunch of grunts walking around picking up concrete and metal. Let's see here. Thanks for the answer from the younger athletes. Who do you like? Younger athletes. Well, I don't know as much about their personal stories as the older guys because I'm old and I grew up watching them and learning about them because I love the sport and I get fascinated by people who compete and I want to learn more about them. I haven't had the time to really delve into a lot of the young guys' stories, which I want to and we will do. So, what I'm going to answer is it's going to be my honest answer to you. It's going to be truthful, but it's one that I want to change and it's subject to change. As I learn more about the men behind the numbers, who is my favorite in the young guys could and possibly will change because I know basically nothing about them except how they compete and what they do there. So again, young guys. Well, of course, I like Lises and Tom and Alexi because yeah, they do what they do, right? Maxime, the, you cheer for the guys who you see and read about as winning competition after competition or placing on podium after podium or so on and so forth. But I need to learn more about a lot of the up and comers backstories, and we're going to do that. I think one thing that I plan on featuring in this channel is we're probably going to start picking one strong man a month to give me time to do sufficient research. I want it to be a good video or live stream where we get to talk about it. But we're going to basically be who is Brian Shaw, who is Zadrunas Savickas, and we're going to kind of look at personal stories. And these young guys, I'll have to research. Hopefully, you guys will like and subscribe. This is a good time for me to say like and subscribe right now. So as we grow, maybe some of them will want to talk to me, and then maybe I can actually do some interviews with some of the younger guys too, and ask them questions and do some good interviews and find out who these guys really are. I'd like to know who the guys are behind the competitions, wouldn't you? Do I think Kaz would have won those 5 years that he was banned from competing? I wouldn't. It's kind of hard to. I wouldn't say he was banned. He just wasn't invited. Maybe it's splitting hairs. Same thing. Maybe not. I don't know that anyone could win that many in a row. Uh, Not because obviously he was head and shoulders above everybody back then. It was basically a strongman competing against rugby players and NFL football players and pro wrestlers and bodybuilders. Uh, there weren't even many powerlifters back in the day competing. Just Kaz, a couple guys. But by and large, he was one of a kind back then. Um, it's hard to say he would have stayed even healthy enough to do something like that. Health is a big thing. There's competition, yes, but there's also health. I'm a big Kaz fan, and I thought if you ask me any single big Kaz question, I'm gonna say whatever makes Kaz look the best. But five more? No, probably not. Some of these questions I'd love to answer, but I don't know about. I'll stick to the things I do. I don't know much about bee spray or, um, oh yeah, hit the bell. And let me do my best Stoltman impersonation. Don't forget to hit the bell. Ding, ling, 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 ling. So, you know what I need to do right now? What I need to do right now is enjoy some of the Beast Hydrate system because I'm sitting here kitty watching. And anytime you're kitty sitting, you need something that's Eddie approved. If you don't have something Eddie approved, the cat will probably suffer. We can't let that happen. Oh, 95 seconds for Kev. Hasn't updated in mine yet. See what the Strongman Archives says. Shows over there. It does. Strongman Archives a little bit quicker. So really, really good. So you know, we know who's getting the most points there because Tom is not going to go out there and hold that thing for that unless he just feels like doing it. But I don't know why you would. Um, so oh man, thoughts on Brian Shaw? That's kind of weird. I didn't think anybody would want to ask about Brian. I'm joking. Everybody always wants to know about Brian. I think I think Brian's in surprising to say this. I think Brian is in good shape in terms of chances to go to the final. That's about as good as his chances get, I think. But that's actually great because halfway through yesterday, before what happened at the end of the day, halfway through yesterday, I didn't think Brian Shaw had much of a chance of making the final, let alone anything else. I thought Brian was basically out of it. So he did step up when he needed to, which I guess is what champions do, right? So little kids, little kids, yes, little kids. Kevin Ferris is an amazing athlete. You know, um, he Kevin Ferris is just an amazing athlete. The stuff that he's able to do, um, I actually like it. I I think most of us, not all of us, but and then Tom held it for four seconds, so we've got some time to talk. So um, so let's talk about this a little bit. I'm gonna give you a hot take that may be controversial. Maybe some of you won't like it. Maybe some of you will be like, "Amen." I have no idea. We're gonna get into something real quick. Talking about Kevin. I think that we have this tendency to believe that bigger is better. And a lot of the strongmen suffer from this bigorexia thing, right? The bigger I am, the stronger I am. The bigger I am, the stronger. I think mainly, in large part, that has been debunked in recent years, and a lot of the guys realize that they don't have to be gargantuan to do well. But they still, even though it's not, hey, he who is biggest wins, there's still this thing in there that I got to get bigger, I got to get bigger, I got to get bigger. And when I see smaller guys like Kevin who are hanging with these guys, I think it goes a long way to saying that may not be the case. It definitely helps to be bigger. Strength and size are linked, but it's not a direct correlation. It's definitely not one to one. And there is a point of diminishing return for sure. In my own lifting and fitness and so on and so forth. Again, I know I'm not supposed to talk about myself. Oh well, I'm gonna do it anyway. In my own lifting, I've noticed the same thing. I've gained a lot of weight, and my lifts have not been proportional at all. Uh, I wish they were. I wish they were. If I was lifting like if I was lifting at 230 pounds like I was at 130 pounds, man, I'd be putting up some incredible freaking numbers. Um, I wouldn't be an old guy saying I can't do this. I'd probably be going, guys, you stream by yourselves. I'm going to go compete and I'm going to go try for some Olympic qualifiers and stuff. But my numbers didn't go like that, right? I I reached a peak, a plateau, and it sort of leveled off, and I might gain a lot of pounds and very little performance. I do think that happens in our sport, and I want to see them move. And I like watching big guys. We all like it. It's freaky to watch these big guys. It's entertaining, right? But I care about the athletes. I genuinely care about the athletes. That's not a lie. That's not saying something for the benefit of the stream. That's not trying to make myself look like some kind of good guy. I care about these men, and it's not healthy. It's not good to be the size that a lot of these guys are. And when I see smaller guys like Kevin doing what he's doing, I think it can actually help a lot of the other guys live healthier lives and compete at healthier weights because they might start to see and believe I don't have to weigh 380 pounds. I don't have to weigh 400 pounds to be competitive. Maybe I can still do this at like 320, 330. That's still a big dude. It's a very, very big dude, but it's a lot more manageable with our physiology. So with our physical systems, our physiology. So that's what I would say. Oh, there. Do you know the you know the main supplement that I recommend? The main supplement I recommend is hard work. That's the main thing. For years and years and years, I didn't take anything. And I still put up crazy numbers in the gym, and I was still doing a lot better than the guys around me who were taking all sorts of legal and illegal substances. Now, some of that is genetics. Again, I came into the world with physical deformities and so on and so forth, so I had things stacked against me. But my father was also a super strong dude. Don't know much about anyone beyond my father, but so genetics certainly play a part. Um, but I truly believe that there's no substitute for hard work. As a result for that, I do think that look for supplements. You can look for things that increase muscle mass, that increase strength, and so on and so forth. But I think look for stuff that really helps with recovery and endurance because those are going to allow you to put more time in. They're going to allow you to kind of bust your butt harder. And I truly believe that there is no substitute for hard work. Yeah, if you can, if you want to toss some of that in your gym bag, go right ahead. Pick it up at the gas station on the way in. Um, who do I think looks best for winning the stone off in Group Two? I think little Kaz is sleeping in my hand now, guys. I can't say anything about good diet. I definitely don't have that. I probably have one of the worst diets on the planet. I eat like crap. Well, I picked Brian Shaw, even if he stays in third place, which he probably will. It's hard to see him moving up when he's down by 3.5 points. Um, so I think he can. I think he can and probably will beat Bobby Thompson still, but I'm definitely not comfortable calling it. Definitely not saying it's a give me. If he was in the second place position, yeah, he coasts in. In the third place position, I still think he's going to pull it off, but he's going to have to work, and Bobby's going to make him work. What sucks for me personally is my Group Two finalists were Brian Shaw and Bobby Thompson. Now it's a foregone conclusion that one of them is going on, but which of the two is going on? Um, one of my guys is knocking the other guy out. So yeah, It's not weird to talk about your crotch. It's even less weird to give your crotch a name. As a matter of fact, you're weird if you don't do that. I think everyone would universally agree with me about that. So everyone right now, flame Toxic Tag. Eat him up in that chat for making quite possibly the dumbest statement of 2022, saying that it's weird talking to your crotch or naming it. Flame that man. He deserves all the flame that you can throw his way. It's not weird on stream. The only reason you wouldn't do it on stream is you're ashamed of your crotch or ashamed of the name you gave it. The weird thing, if you see, you totally missed the rip. You totally missed the joke there, Toxic Tag. If you were going to rip on me or try to humiliate me, which you failed at doing miserably, you should have picked on the name I gave my crotch because I'm calling it Little Kaz. That's a joke to make at someone's expense. Little Kaz? Okay, there. Well, I guess it's good that you're honest about it. At least you know that. See, those are jokes. Like, why would I not name it Big Kaz, right? The fact that I named it Little Kaz, that is worth picking on. That's worth trying to humiliate me over. So you missed your opportunity. Moral of the story, don't come at me, bro. I'm really good at this trolling stuff. I like Toxic Tag. I'm just messing with him. Um, Jace Jr. I call him Jace Senior, which is not the compliment that it sounds because we all know what happens when you get older. But anyway, uh, don't think Hooper does better than either Stoltman in the final. Anyway, Hooper looks made great future yet. Hooper looks. Uh, Hooper's real, and Hooper will be one to watch in 2023 and beyond for sure. I'm gonna try to get an interview with that young guy if I can. Swapped a couple messages with him. He wants to grow his channel. I'm a marketing expert. I might plant that out there. Um, I don't know. Would you guys like it if maybe we could do an interview with Mitchell Hooper? I'm not saying for sure I can pull it off, but I'll try. Would you guys like an interview with him? Let's see if we can pull it off. Ask Cooper about the weights. You want me to ask the hard hitting questions, right? Don't take it easy on him. Go for the throat right away. What are you doing making a sham of this sport that I love so much? Who do you think you are showing up the 2022 World's Strongest Man with fake weights, Mitchell? The people want answers. I have really big arms. I don't curl that much weight, to be honest. Most of my size up here, I think, comes from pressing. Um, I don't do a whole lot of curls for the girls. Um, 233 this morning, 1 pound more than yesterday. I don't typically weigh myself every day. I only started doing that because I knew you guys would ask, and you have been. So, due to the injuries that I've got and the stuff that I'm trying to overcome, this is gonna break some of your hearts. I think I'm gonna scale back. Remain the world's biggest fan of strength sports, um, but I'm gonna kind of force myself to start lifting lighter and cleaning up my physique and cleaning up the diet, which I have terrible, like I said. Um, I'm gonna try to cut back to probably about 195 pounds. And for those of you who are like, "Oh my God, that's small," those of you who are thinking that, you have forgotten that I'm only like 5'3", so I can be 5'3" and ride around 200 pounds and still look big. Yeah, I know he was saying that he wants to do something. It's he could just take the day off, but he's still going to be active. Um, I also saw that he was looking for a professional videographer when he gets back home, and I own a marketing company. Um, and when I'm not doing coding, I'm doing that stuff. A lot of times, the stuff that I do works together. Like I do web design and development and social media marketing and all kinds of stuff. So I feel like if I'm going to make this channel a go and I'm not lazy with it, I actually probably can do something here. I probably can. But I also feel like I could help guys like Mitchell and stuff, and I'd love to do that. But obviously, I'm not in Canada. I'm far away from that. But I hope he goes there, partners with someone really great, and does phenomenal. The great thing is he's performed so well. He's been given a heck of a platform here. So he's going to get notoriety and following just by what he's done, and he has earned every bit of that. Even if he doesn't cross paths with the right people in the space, the right people are going to come to him. And I believe that anyone that's over 6 feet tall is probably lying because there can't be that many people on planet Earth who are over 6 feet tall. Speaking of height, true story for you guys that I was wildly entertained by that happened a few weeks ago. I was totally shocked by this. And I seem to be the only person who's that entertained by it, except for people who think that I'm lying. I was at Casey's. You guys know the gas station Casey's, right? The convenience store? I'll wait till make sure that people know what Casey's is before I tell you the story. 5'8's not average height. 5'8 is a giant. Anything over 5'6 is like, man, you're lying on your driver's license probably. Okay, forget Casey's. We don't need to brag about Casey's, even though they have great pizza. Um, I was shocked by how good the pizza was the first time. I was like, how good can gas station pizza be? Answer, really good. Um, so anyway, um, I was at Casey's the other day. Just paid for or was waiting in line to pay for my fuel. There were 5 people in line. They were all males. I might have been, and believe I was, the tallest one. Not kids, 5 adult males in line, and I think I was the tallest one. This does not happen. I looked around. I was like, "What? Is there a little people convention in town?" Or I was, and I told this to my brother and stuff. And he's like, "Oh, you felt really awesome, didn't you?" I was like, "No, it was uncanny. It felt uncomfortable. It was a little bit scary." I'm also not the most honest person. Okay, that is my new favorite line in chat. Oh, that was awesome. Best recovery food or drink? I have no idea because again, I don't do anything diet wise that you should do. For me, recovery food is a bowl of chocolate ice cream with a couple pieces of licorice inside of it. Like, hey, give me a bag of licorice. No, and what I'm saying, a bowl of ice cream. You guys know what I mean by a bowl of ice cream, right? You get a gallon, you pop the top off of it, get the spoon, and you go to work. I mean, that's what a bowl of ice cream is. They sell them in bowls. Why would you not take advantage of it? That gallon jug is the perfect bowl. Somehow I've got my teeth. Not sure how. What height am I? I honestly don't know, but I think I'm like 5'3", 5'3", 5'4". I say 5'3". Most people lie the other way. I'm not ashamed of my height or afraid of it. I might be 5'4", but I doubt it. I think I'm 5'3". But the great thing is I'm now getting older, right? So I'm only a few years away from being under 5 feet tall. Eventually, I'm sure I will be under 5 feet tall. Your 9-year-old son is 5'4". Yeah, well, good for your 9-year-old son. But he can't bench more than me. So take that, 9-year-old son. You come back here when you can outbench Jace, okay? And these kids are getting bigger and bigger all the time. Um, so my younger brother is my roommate, and see here, hold on. My wife's 5'2". Yeah, I'm not that lucky with the ladies because of the height. That's true. But but here's the thing. Um, have you moved and had food today? I did have a small little bite. I'm hoping that someone reminds me to eat lunch today because I missed it the last two. Anyway, so do I want to get into that? Do I want to get into that? I'm thinking. I'm gonna save that story for later. I'm gonna save that story for later, but I am gonna tell it. I can bench over 300. Yes, I can show group one. You bet. Tom Stoltman did terrible, only holding the thing for 4.5 seconds, showing that he's not going to do well and his best days are behind him. Tom should probably retire now and not even go into the finals. Oh, wait, he went last and he chose to only do that because that's all he had to do. He didn't even have to do that. Okay, my bad. My bad. All right. Kevin Ferris put up a time of 1 minute and 35 seconds taking max points. Now, that's a great time, but if you look at some of these other times here, it's telling us that this is not exactly one of the hardest holds that we've seen because there's a lot of good times here. In fact, Ivar's at 57:44 is really the worst time of the bunch considering that Tom just went up there and dropped it. So basically 1 minute was the worst. So we're going to see some crazy, crazy times today. So Kevin Ferris got 1 minute 35 seconds. Gabe got 124, but I guess I should say Andy Black first because it's 126. And then Manuel managed a minute 11. He kicked it off with that, and that immediately got all of our attention. And we were like, "Whoa, a minute 11!" But then we started seeing the other times come in, and we were like, "Oh, a minute 11. Okay." Mark Felix, guys. Now there's a time to beat. There's a time to beat. Why do you think your 6'4" son would outlift me if he's 16? I don't care how big he is. To outlift me, if he's 16, he's gonna have to be doing some pretty impressive stuff for a teenager. I have the privilege of having, like, I own companies, so I'm self-employed first of all, but then I also have an employer I do. But I have the privilege to kind of take time when I want, and so I decided I wanted to do this. I got plenty of PTO. Let's launch the channel. Let's hang out with you guys. Let's watch my favorite sport and the biggest event of the year. Although we're not watching it, right? We're looking at a freaking table on the internet. Uh, but anyway, that answers your question. Let's see. I think I missed something. Some people might care about their PRs. I don't know if no one does. Ouch! Stop it. I don't really like to talk about mine, not because they're not good. They're really good. But I just feel like it makes me sound like a, a douchebag, and I don't want to be one. I also think it's kind of like a double-edged sword for me. If I was 6'5" and 275 or 280 pounds plus, like a lot of these guys are, and I talked about my personal best then, people would be amazed by it and 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 like it. Even if I said the numbers I have, people would still find them impressive, even if I was that big. Um, but when you're this small, everyone believes that you have a Napoleon complex. You're ashamed of being short. You're trying to prove something to the world. So I can't even have the types of conversations that average height or taller people have because if I contribute to the conversation, I've got something to prove. I'm trying to convince you. I'm trying to compensate for something. So I just usually just keep my mouth shut on that and I'm just like, okay, I do the numbers I do. They are what they are. and it is what it is. I actually thought about this last night. I was thinking I'm going to have to start getting some merch, and you guys are going to support me by buying it. And another way to support me would be by going ahead and smashing that like and subscribe button. Because when you smash the like and subscribe button, you qualify to win the Eddie approved Beast Hydration System jug for your very own. All subscribers are in, but you have to do it quickly. But also, I would say that um, I was thinking about designing some shirts, and one of the ideas that came to my mind last night, because again we like to joke about my height on here and things of that nature, and again I know when I start talking about my lifts, the Napoleon complex thing comes up. So I thought about designing a shirt that says, "Of course I've got a Napoleon complex benches," and then has like a cartoon version of me benching with 4 plates on each side. You guys get it? Of course I have a Napoleon complex benches. Do you get it? Do you guys get it? Yeah, as things grow, I'll definitely put some training videos up. I won't do a lot of that because I don't want the attention or focus to be on me. I wasn't planning on doing this. I did this because you guys said, "Hey, keep this thing going." I want the attention and focus to be on the athletes of the sports that I follow and love, and that's where we're going to spend a lot of time. But I will occasionally put some stuff out there for me because it seems like some of you guys want to know a little bit more about me than I thought you would. So I'll do it. But mainly, it's going to be about them because I'm focused on them, not on myself. You guys seem to be kind of focused on me, but I want to focus on those athletes. I love and respect these guys. I'd be a lot more honest if I was a little bit taller. Probably so. Probably so. What is it that I'm not doing, Marco? What should I not do? I probably have both a Napoleon Dynamite and a Napoleon Bonaparte complex. Although, for you history buffs out there, the whole thing of Napoleon complex and Napoleon being short, that's really much ado about nothing. He really wasn't that tiny. If you do your history and research it, Napoleon was actually like average height for his time. Um, he's not the pipsqueak that historians who know nothing tell us to these days. Oh, the shirt idea is great, man. The shirt idea is great, dude. I got a couple other shirts around here that I designed somewhere. I've got one that says I'm actually wearing it in my avatar thing there, where I'm doing the Hulk thing. So it says "Little man, big arms," and it's got like a silhouette of a guy standing up against like one of those height charts if he's at the jail, and it shows that I'm like less than 5'4", but then got the big old pump on. Yeah. Anyway, Constantine, 1 minute, 1 seconds. Oh, it's someone's asking, so I love Evan. Guess what, guys? It is May 26th. It's no longer May 25th. I'm not a big Evan fan, and I have never said anything differently. It's good to know that people are keeping score and keeping me honest. And I feel like since you guys are starting with me, we're hanging out every day here, and we keep things going from one day to the next. I feel like we're gonna have a canon. So stuff has to stay in official order, and I'm gonna start saying stuff down the road, and you guys are gonna be like, "Is this in canon, Jace? Because that doesn't seem to match what you told us before." And that's when I'll go, "This is not in canon. This is just proving that I was a liar before and a hypocrite." So, um, let's see here. See. Of course, Evan is a swell guy because all of these guys are swole. That's a strongman joke. That's terrible. That's strongman meets dad meets extra pitiful. Let's see here. There should be a. I don't know if Janash is carrying injury. He does seem to be performing rather poorly, but he's also, in my opinion, you guys might think differently, but in my opinion, Constantine's also not the most consistent performer. He seems to have certain events where he does really, really well. And by events, I'm not necessarily talking about the events themselves. He definitely has strengths, like a lot of these guys, but he seems to be a guy that you don't really know how he's going to do. Sometimes he comes to these things and he's a stud. Other times he's very, very middle of the table or very there. I'm not sure. Let's see here. Brian does have a great grip. It's not going to be a 2 minute and 20-second grip. Uh, let's see. Painters are sponsor cars. So someone said Brian is way past his prime, but saying that is like cursing in church. Interesting thing about that. I get your point. It does seem that way, and people. But as someone we talked about my faith earlier, you guys get me in a thing. I said I wasn't going to do this. We'll go on a. I'll divert for just a split second. I promise we'll get back to strength and get away from the faith stuff. But since someone said like cussing in church, as a pastor, um, I can remember one time I was actually in. Not in the sanctuary. I was kind of like out in the foyer area, and this kid comes running through there, and he says this cuss word, and I can remember the mother disciplines him by saying, "Hey, we don't talk like that in church." And I remember thinking, "What do you mean you don't talk like that in church? Let's teach the kids not to talk that way if we're going to teach them anything." So I said to her, I said, "So where do you talk that way?" Because I just thought, that's a really bad lesson to be teaching the kids. Not that it's cool to talk that way in church, but I firmly believe that you should be who you are in church. The same person that you are outside of church, you should be that person in church. And if you're ashamed of acting any certain way in church, don't act that way outside of church either. Be who you are 100% of the time, or you can never really be who you are. Period. Back to Strongman. Anyway, let's see here. Scratch my beard. Wonder if little Kaz is giving me some fleas. Do you have fleas, little Kaz? You don't have fleas, do you? Kaz says, yeah. Well, that's not good. It's not good. Is there anybody here who has not met little Kaz yet? Does everyone here know little Kaz? What do you think, little Kaz? Yeah, yeah. So for those of you who are just turning in, little Kaz is my buddy. I'm kitty sitting. We had to rescue little Kaz last night. He was abandoned by his mommy, and he was left in an old pump house, was stuck and couldn't get out and scared out of its mind and trapped in a pretty unpleasing position. I think he was hurting. But we got him out of there. Now we're going to try to find him a little home. And until we do, little Kaz will be my buddy. And if I don't find him a home, I guess little Kaz will be my permanent buddy. If I had to choose dog or cat. So you're asking me to choose between my first and second born kids here, right? This is that question? If you had to choose which of your kids would you keep alive, which of your kids would you keep alive? 48 seconds for Gabe. I believe that is the worst time of anyone who has attempted a hold so far. Is that right? Let's see here. Yeah, that's the worst time so far. Before that, Ivers was 57. So Gabe has the worst time so far. The worst legit time. Because I'm not going to count Tom's 4 second for obvious reasons. Um, I love animals, period. Dogs, cats, turtles, chimpanzees, dolphins, you name it, I love them. Um, don't like spiders. Spiders are like the Evan Singleton of the critter world. Uh, but uh, if you ask me, like, what is my favorite domesticated normal pet, I guess I'd put dogs or cats. But I like little kitty cats. They're they're not as good of companions. They don't like to hang out as much. But right now, little cat seems to like me a lot. So I was thinking if I do keep him, he might have to be a staple of the show. If I keep him, he might have to be a staple of the show. Little Kaz might have to join us. Yeah, I would not like to be neutered. If you were to choose between the most fit in cardio world or the strongest lifter in the world, which one would you choose? I'm going to give you the answer to that question, and it's the right answer for the audience that we have here, but it's also an answer that I have to admit publicly that I'm ashamed is my answer. It would be better if I could choose being the most fit. It would be better if I was that for me. It'd be better for all of us. That is not what I would choose. If you ask me, would I rather be the most fit person or the strongest lifter? I'm going to choose the strongest lifter. Let's see here. Let's see. Who had more in the previous event? Bobby did there. Okay, and then so yeah. So Brian is up next. How's Tom and Luke getting on? Just got in from work. Well, neither of them need to do a dang thing. They're not really getting on, Tom and Luke, because they've already sailed on. Tom did his 4 second thing, which is basically a glorified pose, and then walked off into the sunset. Luke won't be until much later, but he doesn't even have to come. I'm really interested. I actually want an answer to that, whether Luke actually does this event or not. He doesn't have to. He has a 7 point lead. He can take a zero, and he still is first place in Group 5 and gets an automatic bye into the uh, the finals. 66 seconds for Brian. Is that a guess or is that official from over here? It's official. 66 seconds for Brian. When you look at the other times that we've seen so far, in this group up here, if Brian was in group 1, 66 seconds would have been beaten by 1, 2, 3, 4 guys. And Brian has a really good grip. 66 seconds is not a very good time based on what we've seen so far. Um, hmm, the plot thickens. Do, 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 do. Let's see here. It may have been. Everyone here seems to think so. Uh, I guess that's true. He really only needed to beat Janasha, but he didn't even really need to beat Janasha. He really only needed to beat Gabe um, with the 48. If he would have had 1 point less there, if he would have been between them, that still would have been enough. Yeah, he only really needed to beat Gabe. Um, let's see. Who's your favorite strongman of all time? Answered Kaz. Brian just needs to beat Jeanette. Have you met any competing world strong? Uh, I've met a couple of the guys. It depends upon what you mean by meet. I haven't broke bread with any of them. Um, I've shook a couple hands. I've waved to them in crowds. Um, I've yeah, I think that's about it. Shook a couple hands, said hi. Um, Wanted to get my picture taken with Big Kaz, my favorite guy. At a He went to a casino for some sort of appearance several years back in St. Charles, Missouri here, and I got to meet him. Did not get my photo taken. Have regretted it since. Uh, but as long as we're gonna keep this channel, I plan to get out there and be a pest, meet a lot more of them, and we'll do a lot of photo ops and stuff. It'll be fun. Mm, just what about Bobby on Stones? That were uh, so uh, someone says Hoop will piss off the world and do 67 seconds. Um, he it would be it would be a very funny troll job if he did it, and I would laugh hysterically if he did it. But based on the videos that I've seen of him and short conversations I don't see him doing it. I think he's too classy to do it, to be honest. Um, and he doesn't need to put a stamp on it. He's already did what no one else has done for over a decade. He's the reason that Brian Shaw has to be in a stone off. He took Brian Shaw's group, which is something no one else can say, in like forever. So he doesn't need to do that. But I would honestly laugh my butt off if Mitchell Hooper went out there in like 67 seconds. I'm not a St. Charles boy in terms of high school, but I did used to live in that area. Uh, I did. Pheasant Run Apartments, shout out. Um, but uh, but that's where Big Kaz was at. He was at I think it was Ameristar doing something. It might have been Harris. I don't remember. Bobby Thompson with a minute 21. Has everyone praised Shaw's script? Yeah, he never performs it. That's not fair. It's not fair at all to say that he never performs in contest. He's performed in a lot of contests where his grip has held out and served him very well. My longest open water swim is probably about 26 feet. Maybe. We already discussed earlier that I'm a liar. I think that was made pretty clear. And I'd be more honest if I was taller. So 6.4 seconds for Mitchell. So what he did is he said, hey, the reigning world's strongest man did 4.63. What I'll do is I'll just do what he does and half again. I'll do 1.5 times what Tom does. That'll be like a little nod over to Tom being like, coming for you, coming for you. And that's what he did, 6.4. I'm not a liar, but I am a jerk. So I'm going to pick on someone who was just nice to me and say, that's the wrong type of your and you misspelled liar. Um, so this person, James, just went from being like, hey, I'm going to back Jace up and I'm going to be his fan. And now he's like, that Jace guy sucks. Uh, I get it. It's a fair point. I do suck. It's fair. All right. Once in a while, some guy appears from nowhere and slays the competition. Mitchell Cooper is that guy, I think. Who's Mitchell Cooper? Is it Mr. Cooper? Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I'll say, so not be surprised if Brian loses on the stones. Mine stays in one spot with my floating chair and beer. Are the events in the finals much better suited for Brian to give us a Shaw fan hope? I like the way it was asked. Are the events in the finals much better suited for Brian to give us Shaw fans a hope? I- I'm going to say, for the sake of all those fans out there, they're much, much, much better suited. I was thinking all along that all Brian has to do is squeak through the qualifiers, and if he can make it to the finals, he wins hands down because there's not a single event in the finals that I see him finishing worse than first on. Now, they are good events in the finals for Brian. They are good events in the finals for Brian. But a lot of that was said in tongue in cheek there. Okay, anyway. Um, let's see. How many people go through from the group to the finals? One guaranteed person, the group winner, and then the 2 and 3 battle out in a stone off, and then the winner of the stone off gets in there. So we have a 10-man final. Even if Shaw beats Bobby in stones, he won't make it, right? No, if Shaw beats Bobby, he does go in. Well, this is something we've never had before. World's Strongest Man giving us this, but we also have the Strongman Archives, which is which people usually tune to, and we are tuned to it here as well. I do like the aesthetics a little bit better of this than I do Strongman Archive, um, and it fills out our screen a lot more, easier for us to talk about and see and stuff. Let's see. Did you hear Hooper has been doing all the things he's done, and he's never worn a harness and doing truck pull every set yesterday? Yep, 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 yep. I wonder who's the last person to win World Strongest Man on their first attempt. What's Stone off this year? What is the Stone off this year, and does it favor Brian? So the Stone off is very simple. uh, if you're in second, you sit back and you watch the third place guy lift. Then you step up there and do what he did. And if you always do what the third place guy did, you win. If you if you fail, the third place guy wins. So in other words, the third place combatant has to go first and has to do one more than the second place competitor. And whoever wins that marches on into the final. What's my best strongman event? um, uh, to be honest, I'm not very good. I like I said, I've competed locally in some amateur shows. But I don't do that well. I mentioned yesterday I would be much better in powerlifting competitions, which I've never been in one. But that should have been what I took up after I got away from wrestling and other stuff. Um, I've done strongman, but I don't do very well. I pretty much suck at everything. I'm just too small, and the implements aren't made for me. I guess if I had to pick something, squat events when I can actually compete in them, I do well because it's you know any type of deadlift. Yeah, so any of the strongman events that mimic powerlifting, I do decent at those as long as they haven't built an apparatus for us to use that is not fitted to someone of my stature. Uh, those are the events that I did the best at, but I don't really do that great at any of them. I'm just too small. And again, I'm not a fan of it. Uh, I'm not a fan of the sport because I'm good at it. I'm a fan of the sport because I love strength and I respect what these guys do. What's the biggest sofa you've ever carried by yourself for a minimum of 100 feet? That's a great question. Um, it had to have at least been a 10 feet long sectional that I put together with a rope, and each section weighed about 700 pounds. So it was 3 sections. 2,100-pound sofa is the biggest one I ever carried by myself. And the only reason I was able to do that was because I had the Eddie approved Beast hydration system. If I had not had the Eddie approved Beast hydration system on that day, there's no way that sofa moved, a couple feet, let alone hundreds of feet. So Next, we'll talk about what's the largest refrigerator that I've ever carried by myself. But when we do that, we'll have to also talk about plus freezer plus range because I've never transparency, honesty. I've never carried a fridge by itself. I've only carried a fridge with a freezer and a range attached to them as a combo. I can't really say how well I'd fare in just a fridge carry. Is that fair? How long did Hooper hold for? 6 seconds. He was there. I only carried 2 sections and drug the third behind you. Okay, we're gonna have to ban Bob, and we're not banning him because he's telling lies. We're banning him because he's letting secrets out, and I don't appreciate that, Bob. We had an agreement. You signed an NDA before we went live today that you were never ever going to mention that I drug the third section behind me. So I'll see you in court, my friend. Mr. Hooper doesn't have city hands. What he has is hands of a first place guy who didn't need to hold it very long. He didn't hold it for 6 seconds because he could only hold it for 6 seconds. He held it because why hold it longer? All right. No one has asked me any crazy questions in a while. So while we're waiting for these events, who wants to play a game of chess? Not yet, James. Not yet. Oh, man. Little Kaz is sleeping, guys. I'm going to have to lower my voice just an octave or two. But that would be pitch. Mm, I don't sound very intelligent now. I didn't mean octave. I meant decibel. Damn it. No idea how big my biceps are. No idea. I can't say I've never measured them, but I haven't measured them in a long time. I do know how big they were at my peak, at my best, and I'd rather not say. If you look at the Atlas stones from last year, it was like this. Whereas weakness for Hooper in the final, I don't see one, so it'll come down to mind games and who he's up against on head to head. It's good stuff right there. Good stuff, Rottweiler. If I start talking like an Stoltman, that's at least a full octave and a darn good accent. But I can't usually understand Tom very much. I usually have to like rewind and listen to Tom say whatever he says like 2, 3 times before I get it. Luke is much comes out much more clear to me. No, why do you guys want to know about my body parts? It's weird. Um, at my peak, my biceps, my my arms, the circumference around the largest part of my arm. I think that's better than biceps. I don't want people asking about your biceps, not really your biceps, your entire arm. But it was 20 inches. I have really, really large triceps, I don't really have a big peak, but I have really large triceps. And my favorite lift in the gym of all is dips. I do dips a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot of weighted dips. I have not read any of Greg Bunson's work. Should I? Jonka's arms extend all the way to his wrists, and I can't say the same. So that is an impressive feat. How's Evan doing in his group overall? Like, are you talking about since the qualifier started, or are you talking about today? Because if we're talking about today, he hasn't done anything, because that group hasn't gone yet. If we're talking about overall, the answer is he's mathematically eliminated. It's kind of weird. You guys keep asking about me in the gym and stuff like that. I have to be honest about this. On one hand, I'm a bit flattered that you guys are interested in me. On the other hand, I think that some people are asking because they see a guy sitting here with big arms, but says he's a short, fat boy, and they want to know if the stuff I can do or say I can do in the gym is real. Which I'm not even bragging or saying I can do anything. I wouldn't have said anything if nobody had asked. Um, so I think on one hand, it's flattering that you guys are showing an interest. On the other hand, I think people are just suspicious and they're like, "Hey, prove yourself." On the other hand, again, I've tried to avoid these topics. I don't want to talk about them mainly because I don't want the attention on me. It's cool that you guys are showing interest in me. It really is. I do appreciate it. But I don't want interest on Jace Love Strength. I don't want interest on Jace. I want to talk about Alexei Novikov. I want to talk about Adam Bishop. I want to talk about Trey Mitchell. I want to talk about Rob Kearney. I want to talk about Mitchell Hooper and Brian Shaw. I'm doing this because I love these guys, and I don't want any focus on me. I want to focus on these guys. They deserve it. I don't deserve it. Let's see here. And I might be as tall as 5'4", 5'3", 5'4". But I will say that um, when you make me as short as 5'2", 20 inches sounds impressive either way, right? But when you make me 5'2", it sounds even better. I almost kind of, because my arms aren't the biggest thing and people focus so much on arms, which is stupid. It's like the bench. We all want to know how much you bench, bro. How much you bench. It's one of the least important exercises in the gym. It's also the thing that I'm the best at. Um, so nothing I'm good at actually has any real world application. But having said that, we want to know about these useless stuff because people care about the uh, the the arm so much. I kind of want to say that I'm like 4'7" with 20-inch arms. That's even better. Of course, right now I don't think I have 20-inch arms. I'd say right now they're I don't. I have no idea. But if I was guessing, I'd say they're about 18 to 19 right now. Just a guess. Let's see here. Does Jace love JLS? Okay, I can't believe it. I like to think of myself as an intelligent guy. Someone talked about mental strength yesterday. That is what I prefer the most. I like the mental game. I prefer that even over the physical stuff. But I love strength of all types. Some people said JLS like 10 times yesterday. I didn't know what they were talking about. Someone just asked it here. I am embarrassed to say that. I didn't realize that you guys were talking about this channel, JLS, Jace Love Strength. And probably because I forgot that I named this thing Jace Love Strength. I just threw that name up there so that we'd have a channel. It's not going to be the permanent name of this channel, just so you know. I have no idea what I'm going to call it, but it's not going to stay Jace Love Strength. Um, does Jace Love Strength follow arm wrestling? Yes and no. Um, the Google algorithm, YouTube sees what I pay attention to, right? So they put a lot of Devin Larratt stuff up there, and I watch it. And of course, Larry Wills when he arm wrestles. Now the Big Laws is doing it, and I watch a lot of Big Laws. So that stuff is in there. I watch it when it shows up on my timeline. It's not something I can speak intelligently about. It's not something I am wildly passionate about. It's not something I follow hardcore, but I love strength sports. And I'm gonna kind of let you guys steer the direction of the channel a little bit. If you guys want to talk a lot about arm wrestling, focus on, I guess I'll learn more about it. I guess we'll cover it more, but mainly we're gonna look at strongman and powerlifting. I don't think I've enjoyed my workout since I was like 17, James. Uh, I'm still sitting on the Martins Lisi's bandwagon. I still think that he's going to keep up. Uh, let's see, irrelevant question, but in the keg toss, they have two different types: heavier keg, same height, versus same weight, higher toss. Which one do you think is easier and exciting? They have two different types: heavier keg, same height, versus same weight, higher toss. I like them both. Uh, I think I like when they're using one keg and you keep trying to see that bar go higher and higher and higher and higher. Um, it's just cool to watch. Although we can all so admit that that gives the taller guys like your Brian Shaws and your Tom Stoltmans a pretty good advantage. Um, but it's just cooler to watch it sail. Um, I think that in terms of a test of strength and stuff, and in terms of balancing out and trying to make it as fair as possible, if sports can actually ever be fair, we're different people. We have different bodies. We have different locations where we train. We have access to different gyms and all kind. It's never fair because fair to me means equal. It's never that. I do think increasing weight kegs is probably more fair for the group. More size, less size or height dependent, I should say. But I probably prefer watching the other. Um, do you think Hooper can make the top five then? Well, I said earlier before we kicked off that. Oh, you were asking Toxic Tag. Never mind, not me. I'll shut up. Here's Gold City, Alaska, or Canada would be nice. I don't know if I want to see World's Strongest Man there, but I'd love to go to Alaska. Shoulder pressing your body weight good? What do you mean? Like, is it? Are you asking? Is it a good number? Or are you asking if it's good for you? How are we defining good? I'm waiting to see what Michael's asking about. If you're asking if it's good for you, the answer is may not be. May not be great for your shoulders and stuff. It's probably why mine are so jacked up. If you're asking if it's a good lift, then it's not a good lift. It's a great lift. It's a great lift. Um, and now we also have to define who's defining great, right? Are we talking about in a group of your peers, a group of people walking down the street, and people who competing in strength sports or whatever? But when I say good and great, I'm talking about just what most people can do. If you can press your body weight over your head, that's not good. That's great. Most people cannot do that. Go out and be great. That's right. It's good advice, Brian. Let's see here. Luke Stoltman improve over the last few years. Was Larry can do 500 weight 275. Which old school world's strongest man would I like to see return? you know, I would like to see the bar bend come back, but I also don't want to see the bar bend come back. It's really dangerous, and we saw it hurt a lot of guys. But it's cool to watch too. Maybe Maybe something, when you go to these, um, what do you call it, exhibitions where they do feats of strength, but not necessarily competing with one another. Blowing up hot water bottles and stuff like that for to entertain people. Of course, an old one is ripping up the phone books and rolling up a frying pan, something like that. I think it'd be kind of cool to do something like that if you could ensure that it's fair by making sure that everyone's stuff was manufactured to the same quality, they all passed the same QA thing or something like that. And I do think like having who could roll up a frying pan, and I think they actually did that at one of the World's Strongest Men or two, if I remember, and you had to get it down to a certain size. But I do think maybe doing like, I know they did on Strongest Men in History too. Uh, but I wouldn't mind seeing them like do like a frying pan bend, assuming everyone's using the exact same frying pan. Again, it's tested to rigorous standards, and see who could roll it up to like whatever circumference or diameter they decide is fair, the fastest time. I think that'd be cool to see these for a grip event. Let's see here. You've heard that I'm the same size as Tom Stoltman's leg. Can you verify this? I might be, but I'm neither as big as Luke's leg, and I'm only about half the size of Luke's big ass. And that's a shout out to Big Laws again, because he loves to talk about Luke's booty. Um, anyway, guys, do you know what time it is? Who knows what time it is? If you said that it's time for the Eddie approved beast hydration system, you are right. And for being correct, you win absolutely nothing. But it does show that you're paying attention and you've been keeping it along at home. Now the best thing to do is smash that like and subscribe button. Ding a ling a ling a ling a ling ling. Oh, and tell everybody else to do the same thing, right? Oh. So you can see the results either on my screen, or if you want to leave Ren, you can go to theworldstrongestman.com. At the top, you'll see 2022 information. Put your cursor over that. You'll see live results. You can click there. Or you can go to the always fabulous strongmanarchives.com, and you can follow along with World's Strongest Man or pretty much any freaking strongman event that's out there. It's an awesome site. An awesome site. Well, Eddie doesn't have to approve of my technique. He just has to approve of the product. Let's see. All leaders and groups are only have to share. Yep, it's true. They only have to show up. That's about it. If I didn't try so hard to be funny, I might actually be funny. Hey, I'm not everybody's cup of tea.